It's just about that most wonderful time of the year, and today I'm going to share with you the Advent resources that my family has used over the past 10 years, give you some idea of how they work, and tell you which ones we liked and which ones we probably won't do again. But before I get started, I am so excited that you are here today. My name is Leigh from Little by Little Homeschool, and right here on my channel is where I share all the things about homeschooling, sometimes curriculum, sometimes tips and tricks, some things just the reality of homeschool to encourage you as a homeschool mom, and all the things in between. If you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's video. One last thing before I start showing you the different resources we've used. If you are new to homeschooling, newish, or maybe you're just in a spot where you just need a reset of your homeschool, I have some openings for my one-on-one coaching program where I walk homeschool moms through all the things. Let's figure out your vision. Let's figure out your curriculum. Let's figure out your routine. Let's figure out what exactly will work for your family. If you're interested in more info, I will put a link in the description below so you can check that out. But let's get started now and talk about the Advent resources that my family has used over the past 10 years. Let's start with a little backstory. To me, growing up, Advent was something that we did on Sunday mornings at church, just the Sundays before Christmas. They would light a candle, maybe a different family would go up front, read some scripture, and that was Advent. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But then about 10 or more years ago, I realized, as a family, we can celebrate Advent together. It doesn't just have to be on a Sunday. And that's when I started to discover all kinds of different resources. But let me show you how it started out. I'm not quite sure what made me realize or think that. Maybe somebody happened to mention something, but there was no internet. There was no Googling like family Advent, how to celebrate Advent with a family, none of those things. Also, if you're interested, all these resources and everything, I do have a blog. I haven't added to it for a little while. It's a DIY blog. But it's easiest for me just to include all the resources in that. So it's an older blog post, and I will drop that link in the description below. So if you want to check out any of these things and to read a little bit more of a description of them, I will put that there. It's just a much better resource than me just putting them all in the description below. So you can hop over there to check out all of these specifically. I'm not quite sure what made me think more about it, but I happened to find a kit where you could put together an Advent calendar at, I think it was Joann Fabrics. So I picked it up for about 10 bucks, and I remember putting it together, being so excited. Again, it was probably just my using some type of creativity. All right, and the funny thing is we haven't used this in many, many years, and I still have it. More so to me, it's just a way of remembering back to that time. So it is a little bit, okay, let me go back. I have a box right here. that I have all of my Advent resources in. I keep it in here. What I have found over the years is, because I'm not sure if you know, but Advent typically starts, it could start right after Thanksgiving, and depending on what dates Thanksgiving are. And you can just Google, which year, whichever year it is, you can Google, when does Advent start, and it'll tell you. So I highly suggest figuring out what you're gonna do before Thanksgiving. If you can even have it figured out a few weeks before, order and get any of the supplies that you need so that you can get started right after Thanksgiving if Advent begins on that Sunday after Thanksgiving. So I keep this box labeled Advent, and it is the last box we put away into our storage area for our Christmas stuff. I've even kept it in some homes. We had a storage area for all our Christmas stuff, like way up high in our garage, but I would keep this down in a corner of our basement because I knew that I would need it earlier than I needed the rest of the Christmas decorations. So that's my little tip on how to not lose your Advent stuff, put it all just in one box. And also only keep the resources that you like. If you tried something one year and you didn't like it, just pitch it. Pass it on to somebody else. Maybe it'll work well for another family. Okay, let's go back to this calendar that I made. It is very full, let's just say that. My style has changed a little bit. So there's this one top part, and then it's connected just with some ribbon on the back and the bottom part. And in each of these, they're like little envelopes. And in each of these is a little slip of paper. And I think I just made them up the first year. I'm not really quite sure, but so the first year what I did was I used this, and every single day labeled 1 to 25 would have some type of family activity in it. And this is where we started some of our traditions of getting our kids into their pajamas, making some popcorn, and driving around and looking at Christmas lights. And my kids still remember that as a fond memory. It's a little bit harder to find a night that everybody is, available to do that now that they're all teens and they're not all super interested in it, but we've kind of adjusted. Some of the things were to watch The Grinch That Stole Christmas. We would watch that in the, oh, I know. It was like build a tent and watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We would do that. There was just different things we would do. And I think the last time I did it, I had found So this one, so you can do all kinds of things. I'm sure you could find online some type of calendar telling you what to do. This is the latest. So I use that calendar for a couple of years, and the last one, so it says read, and it's a couple like Luke 2 and read Luke 2:7 and Matthew 2:1-4, and then discuss, talk about the bed that Jesus laid in the night he was born, the manger, and then sing Away in a Manger. Obviously, this is for younger children. I haven't used it, like I said, in quite a few years, but I would change it up. But let me tell you, sometimes I would go ahead and set up these things and it'd be like, go look at Christmas lights on this certain day, and then it would get to be that day, and I don't feel like doing this tonight. The day has gone crazy, or even if it was just the next day, I would quick kind of switch them to dates that would work for me. So don't be beholden to, oh, I put it on December 10th and we're gonna go look at lights and somebody's sick. Well, just switch it to another day. Know what you kind of have planned. But I'm sure you can find some stuff where you can make up your own type of activities to do. It could be activities, it could be scripture-based, it could be whatever. It could be a combination of different things. So that is how we got started on Advent, using that calendar for a couple of years. And then there was this thing called the internet. I mean, I know the internet was there before, but there was this thing called Google and searching, and I started to look around and talk to people and found that other people were celebrating Advent as well and got some ideas from them. Then we moved to, I picked up this video, and it's called Buck Denver Asks, Why Do We Call It Christmas? It's just a DVD. I'm sure you could probably get it on a download somewhere, but I bought this many years ago. I'll try to take a look. The very first year we did it, I still have it printed out. See, this is the Advent nerd that I really am. I still have it printed out. There was a discussion by purchasing this, I think it was the very first year it came out. Inside, there was a website, and if it's still there, I will list it in the description below, or I'll put it into that blog post. But there was like a way to be able to get to a devotional, an Advent, to be able to talk about it. So we did that that first year, and I remember it was a little bit rough. My husband worked a third shift or just some odd shift that he wasn't around as much, but we would always take time. It took maybe about 10 minutes, but we really enjoy this DVD. We still watch it now. My kids are all teens and will still watch it. So if you're wondering where did the tradition of the Christmas tree come from, why do we call it Christmas? All of these different things. So to me, it added a bit of an historical or a cultural context for the different traditions we have. You could even add this to your homeschool days as part of something that you do with your kids. I should make it clear that the movie encompasses puppets and that kind of stuff, but my kids as teens will still watch it. They think it's kind of funny in a silly sort of way, and sometimes with those things, you know, teens might act like they don't really like it, but they'll still kind of, you just put it on and they'll wander in. I'm not saying that happens here or anything, but that was the first Christmas that we did something besides the calendar. And again, we still watch, I'll put this video on for them, I'll tell them it's school time. This is our morning time. We're gonna watch Buck Denver today, and we'll still watch it to remember. So my kids have learned, you know, what are the reasons, what are the basis for all these different types of traditions, and it's presented in a way that little kids will kind of get it and they'll understand, and then they can share that information with others as well. And then we moved on to a series, a book series. There's 4 of them. And again, I don't know where I find these types of things, but I do think that it's just God leading me to different resources. And the first in the 4-part series is Jotham's Journey. I remember telling all of my friends about it, and it's so funny because over the years, people ended up adding this because I was like, you need to add this, and they've all loved it. I hear from friends still, how many years later, 7, 8 years later, who say, you know, hey, we added Jotham's Journey, have loved it. It's been a really great resource. Basically, it's a 4-part series, so I don't remember which, I'm just gonna hold them up. You'll have to check that link, that'll be in that blog post. So it's Jotham's Journey. There is a specific order, I think, but it doesn't matter if you don't read them in that order, it still comes together. Bartholomew's Passage, Ishtar's Odyssey, and then Tabitha's Travels. All of these children cross paths. Their lives and their stories intermingle. So that's really the neat thing when you add the next story. So the first story is just a story, and I highly recommend that you start with Jotham's Journey. It'll set the tone for the entire thing. Now, when we went through this, my kids were early, middle, elementary school age, and there are some times in the story where, let's just say, the situations might be a little bit tense for younger grades. So just recognize that. Every single day, the funny thing is though, well, not so funny, but in the back, the author has listed right here, Advents through the years. So it's a chart. It starts from 1997 to 2076. And he tells you what day Advent begins each of those years. Just kind of as an aside, if you're wondering if you don't want to Google it and you get this book. But every single day, we'll give you a story to read. We did this around dinner time. I would maybe eat quick or hold off on eating and read to them. Again, during these years, my husband was working odd shifts and it was just really a hard time for us to do things as a family, but it was not impossible. I would make sure that we would add something. So some of them are a couple pages long, some of them are a little bit longer, but the really neat thing is at the end of the story for that day, there would be a Bible passage and then there would be some information just to lead a discussion. We had some really good discussions about it. My kids thoroughly enjoyed Jotham and all of his friends in these different books. They really felt like they got to know them. There is also an Easter book. Also, I forget the name of it. I think it's a girl that might be the main character. Maybe not. Don't quote me on that. However, we did do that one Easter and it is a lot more intense than the Christmas one. Again, Jotham's Journey, highly recommended, especially for elementary age children. Older, you might be able to do it. You never know. You can try. The discussion might be good. But also, they might pretend they don't really enjoy it, but they actually. I think we might have done 2 of the Jotham's Journey books and then put them aside for a year, and I got another book. This one's called The Jessie Tree, and it was the first time that we did a Jessie Tree. Again, same thing. It's a story that continues day 1, day 2, and goes on. I thought that the pictures, were really great. I enjoyed the artwork. There wasn't as much of a discussion for this. However, I did print out, I found just online, different ornaments, and I just found like one's free online, printed them out on my printer, tied little ribbons on them, little string on them, and I had a faux Christmas tree that it's probably maybe about 3 feet tall or so, and it was specifically just for the Jessie Tree. So every time we would do a reading, we would put the appropriate Jessie Tree ornament on it, and that would add to every single day. Now, I do have to say that in this book was not my kid's favorite. I'm not quite sure why I held on to it. I don't know, I just did. The older gentleman in the story is grumpy, and my kids just couldn't relate to him. We pushed through, we finished it, and I think more important was we would do the scripture reading on each of the different ornaments, but they just really didn't relate to the main character. Maybe as they got older, if we had gone through it again, they might have, but they just didn't relate to a grumpy old man. And the boy maybe somewhat, but they just couldn't get past the old man. So this one's gonna go with like if you're gonna pick something, pick Jotham's Journey or the Buck Denver's What Do You Think About Christmas. So the Jessie Tree, I'm gonna give like a thumbs up, thumbs down. It's kind of whatever. It wouldn't be high on my list, let's just say that. Then another year we did Ann Voskamp's, which I feel like everybody knows about this one, Unwrapping the Greatest Gift. I think someone might have given this to me, maybe my mom or a friend. So there is a reading every single day, and then there would be thoughts to discuss and a family activity. We used also on Ann Voskamp's website, she had ornaments, and I did print them out, and we did use them sort of similar to a Jessie Tree, put it on a tree just for that. I just tied like some jute on them, and we did go through this. I'm not quite sure how much my kids enjoyed it. We still went through it. It was a good reading. Again, my kids, I have 2 boys, and maybe they just didn't appreciate the writing as much. And I know a lot of families that do enjoy Ann Voskamp's Unwrapping the Greatest Gift. See how much of an impression it made on Unwrapping the Greatest Gift. Again, I mean, it's the Christmas story. It's the birth of Jesus. How can you go wrong? I appreciate it. I thought the artwork was fun, but this one, if I was gonna pick a book, I'm gonna pick Jotham's Journey. Okay, let's see, what do we have next? Another great resource is Focus on the Family. Throughout the years, they will put out some type of Advent. It'll be free on their website. Check out my blog post down below that will link you to get this year. So every year they would use a different one. They used to have an archive of the older ones, and I'm not quite sure if they still do or not, but you can check that out. But I have printed those out. This is from 2011. I'm an Advent nerd, junkie, whatever you want to call it. But there's different, sometimes they've had calendars and you can cut out different things and put on. Sometimes they've had daily devotion readings. Some of them are a daily and some of them are weekly. Again, every single year they come up with something different to do. And those have been a good resource, especially if you're on a budget or you don't have the time or the energy. Go ahead and check out the Focus on the Family ones. They'll have something for every single year, and that's been a great free resource. Another resource that we added in is called Prepare Him Room. This also has daily readings. I don't know if you can figure out how a lot of stuff, some years I kind of doubled up. You're like, you've only done this for 10 years? Yeah, I've only done this for 10 years. So there are, so if you read the Bible, there's different activities you can do. This was not one of our most favorite, but I think it's a good option. I would say, you know, check it out. There's a story that then goes through. Each week is a different part of the story. So this was a good, you know, good resource for 1 year. It doesn't have a lot to it. We didn't do the activities. Some years were really busy, and I just need to find something that was simple. I'm going to list also in that blog post, there are some other free resources. As my kids have gotten older, we can now kind of branch out and do what maybe would be Advents for adults, and I can just kind of bring it down a little bit and we can have a discussion that's appropriate. We've had some really great discussions. So I did find some in the past couple of years that I have kind of pulled together different parts from them, and that'll be in that blog post that I'll put in the description below. And it's just it's nice as my kids have gotten older that even though, yes, we did some of these, you know, great stories when they were younger, that now we have moved into a place where we are really thinking about it. We're getting into really good, deep discussions about Christmas and the birth of Jesus, which has been a really neat part of having older kids. Okay, let me see, 2 other things. I, for myself, added John Piper's The Dawning of Indestructible Joy, and it's daily readings for Advent. I really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure that I will do it again this year. I put aside any other devotional readings I was doing, and I would do this along with my Bible reading each day, and it just kind of gave me a different perspective, different feeling. So I would recommend this, and I might even, instead of doing this on my own, I might do it with my family this year. It's not a very thick book. The readings are, there's a verse, and then it's just very short. So it can be added if you just want to, during breakfast time or something, have some type of little devotional with your older children. This is a good resource. Another thing that I think I did last year, I'm not quite sure. I honestly don't remember if we did this or last year or if I did it on my own, but it's called Capturing the Wonder, and it's more of a study. It's more of an in-depth study. Obviously, I didn't fill in the blanks, but I might have gone through it just mentally on my own. But I think I'm gonna look through this again and see if I can add this or John Piper's book to doing my family's Advent, because guess what? I haven't figured out what we're doing at this Advent. I just realized that I wanted to put together this video to share with you to encourage you to do it. But one thing that we always do is do our Advent candles. I've had different types of things throughout the years. This is the latest one that's working for us. I've had tall pillar ones, and you can get the candles. I'll buy new ones each year. You can just get them online or get them at a local craft store. I think I usually pick them up at Michael's, but I'll just have the 4 candles, and then I'll just put like a pillar candle in the middle, or just a regular stand. I don't know if this is necessarily meant for Advent or not, but I just thought it just kind of fit my style. So we always do the lighting of the candles, and we'll do that on Sunday evenings. And that's also just been a special time. We'll do our Advent time around the candle during that time. We always add in hymns, and it's just been really neat over the years to listen to my kids sing, even just things like Away in a Manger, Joy to the World. All of those great Christmas hymns that we might not get to during a Sunday service, we can sing together as a family. I wanted to share these resources with you just to get you thinking. You don't have to use any of these, but I wanted to give you a place to kind of start from. And maybe this year you'll use one of these and then start to find your own resources in the future years. And if you have any great resources for Advent that you've used with your family, leave that in the comment section below. If you could also include whether it's for younger children, middle age, older kids, if you can include an age range that this resource works the best with, that would be really helpful. So check out the comment section so you can find out what others are using and planning on using. If you have an idea for my family for this year, I have all teens and then my husband and I. So if you have a great resource for that, I would love to hear that. So drop that down in the comment section below too. Thinking before Thanksgiving what you want to get, and if it's after Thanksgiving, if it's the Advent season, you are not too late. Maybe you just add in one of those free resources that'll be in that blog post that'll be in the description below, or maybe you just sit down on Sunday evenings and do some scripture reading and sing some hymns. That's fine. That is enough. It's just has been a way for my family to celebrate Christmas, not just as part of a church, larger church family, but just us as a unit of 5. And it's been a great way for us to enrich our Christmas experience, keeping the focus on the birth of Jesus, because we can get so distracted with so many things going on that one thing to do before you decide what type of resource you're going to add is to evaluate. Look honestly at the amount of time that your family has. Do you have time to do a reading every single day? If yes, then go ahead and pick a resource that'll include that. But if you don't have that time, maybe you're like me in these past couple years, I have older kids that are working in and out, and we only really have time for 1 or 2 nights a week, then recognize that and get something that's going to help your family in those 1 or 2 nights. When my kids were younger, they were home every single day, so that worked fine. Some years I would do some type of Advent because I would find resources that I just loved and I just couldn't say no to any of them. We would do some type of Advent sort of thing during our school time, and then we would do something as a family when Dad was around in the evening. I just want to encourage you to make Advent what will help your family to celebrate the birth of Jesus and to stay focused on him no matter what type of resource or no matter what it is that you do. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.